Okay. Again, this is a pretty wide topic, just metrics and data. And there's more and more actually, from my experience working maybe 20 years ago, the time we spent on this was very minuscule compared to what we do now, right? I think that's kind of been the evolution of product management, right? It has become much more data driven and data oriented, right? So I think as PMs is again, I feel like a lot of PMs are not good at this skill, is especially in the early career. So it's very important to build this, and I'll go over some of the kind of caveats and thoughts like that you should do, right? So very important to be very clear what's your Northstar metric, there's a lot of literature, a lot of these things around that, right? So usually it's pretty straightforward. Okay, this is your Northstar metric, right? But make sure you're aware that there is counter metrics, right? So one of the common things I have seen is that you try to optimize for Northstar metric, right? Now, for example, right, let's say you have an online product and you're trying to get more and more customers to sign up, right? And let's say your e-commerce thing, right? So you eventually want people to buy, right? Which is a conversion. But you're trying to get more people to kind of sign up, right? So you spend a lot of marketing dollars you can spend and try to get customers to sign up on your app or download an app or sign up on the website, right? Now maybe that's your thing, but is that converting? People are not buying because you're getting the wrong set of customers, right? So your really counter metric is your conversion, right? So which tells you that just optimizing for Northstar is not the right thing, right? Because you're not getting the right value out of that customer. So I think understanding of what the Northstar metric is, what could be the counter metric, right? Which gives you the sanity. Now you may still optimize for Northstar, but that keeps your thing in like a sanity check on your growth is your counter metrics, right? So having a clear understanding of what is Northstar, what is your counter metric is very important. Many products, A/B experimentation is the bread and butter, like the work that I have done always, right? So in e-commerce, in ads, in everything online, everything we go through A/B experiments, right? And learning how to do it, how do they run, how to interpret data from A/B metrics, right? Is very important, right? And especially in the industries where this is very common. So maybe in a B2B SaaS kind of things, it may not be that common, but especially in the consumer internet space, this is like the bread and butter, right? We live and die by A/B experimentation, right? So what are experimental holds? What does traffic do? What does mean to take traffic from 1 to 5% to 10%, let's say? How do metrics change between them? How to read and interpret those metrics, right? So I think this is a tricky skill. It takes time and learning, but again, this now and more this is going to be very important, right? It is very important already in many industries, but I think just have to go and learn this skill, especially in those industries. Interplay of various metrics, right? So typically your product, your business will have multiple metrics. Now, how does metric A, interplay with metric B, right? If metric A is increasing, does metric B decrease? If they are both increasing, why is that? In what cases? So, if it goes beyond certain number, then this other metric starts changing, right? So I think understandings of those metrics and how they may interplay with one another, how movement of one may impact the other, and is kind of very important for a good PM to know, right? So understanding the interplay of various metrics. And again, the thing is that in many places, a pitfall that I have seen is that there will be a data analytics team, right, who may do many of that work. But a PM doesn't need to do that work, but they need to understand why things move, right? And because that has an impact on the product. So if you while you may rely on other people to do some of that analysis, But to understand the metric and the movement and why certain things may happen is again will differentiate a good PM from an average PM, right? So again, this is what been my observation looking at a lot of PMs. Again, this is another skill I feel like good PMs will have, is extract data and analyze, right? Now, again, many organizations or groups may have dedicated data and analytics team, right? Which may run the reports or build dashboards and all of that. But they will only build standard stuff, right? So as a PM, I think if you're able to do some of the analysis yourself and do extract that data when needed, right? Write some basic queries, understand, talk to some other guys, engineers or data analysts, and learn some of that skill and become self-dependent, right? I think it will go a long way. To fast track some of the things you want to do, so do some of the ad hoc analysis. So I think just when you get an opportunity, do build this skill, and don't shy away from it, right? I feel like many PMs, just because say, okay, I'm not technical, I'm going to shy away from it. I don't think you need to become technical or you need to become a data analyst, but learn that skill to do actually basic stuff on your own, right? And learn metrics and how they change, how do you accumulate metrics, and it's a good what is significant movement, what is not significant movement. Read up some statistics, fundamentals to build. I think this will be another very good skill. If you can excel in that, if you can get better at it, I think it will help build your career overall, right? And again, this wasn't that important, that critical. Maybe when I started my career, this particular competency was not that important. But now I think it's changed, right? I think now it's like the bread and butter for most type of industries or most type of products. So how to move certain metric, right? So a little bit related to what I was covering earlier. And when I move, so let's say, conversion, right? E-commerce conversion is something, a metric that you manage. And, somebody comes and says, okay, boss, company is doing something else. We need to move this metric, right? We need to go higher. Now you should be aware, okay, what can you do in your product to move this metric, right? Can you remove this button? Can you remove this page? Can you do something else in the product, right? To move this metric. Now, it may or may not be the right thing to do, but you have to know to be able to make those choices, to push back when it's not the wrong thing to do, right? Or if you don't believe in it. But how to move a certain metric? What can you do in the move product to move certain metric, right? Is like sometimes you have to do that. You have to first, okay, say, okay, I want to, typically you will make a change in the product and measure the metric. Now, you will also get into situations where you have to first say, okay, we have to move the metric. So figure out what you should do, right? I think that's a very, at least in my observation, my career, been into the situation all the time, right? And saying, okay, we are not meeting the numbers, we're not meeting the goals. Can you move this metric for last 1 month or 6 months or whatever, right? So how those interplays with your product capabilities and what can you do, what levers do you have to move those metrics is a good skill to have. Again, it will, this will what can, pull you up, right? And make you a good strong PM, right? So having that understanding and keeping it handy with you is good, right? The last part I want to talk about, I'm going to take is problem solve metrics movements. Well, what does problem solve metric movement is, right? This is kind of related to what I was saying last time, is that certain metrics moves, right? You are doing a regular monitoring of your metrics, and let's say your sign up rate drops or your conversion rate drops suddenly, right? Or let's say take an example of YouTube, right? Your watch minutes drop. Total number of minutes that are being watched by all the users dropped, let's say for a few days or for a week. Now, inevitably in such cases, PM will be asked to say, okay, tell us what's going on. Why is this moving, right? And it's again a tough skill to, in many cases there will be data and analytics team, but as a PM you have to be able to interpret that data, right? You can, it could be, for example, like let's take the case of YouTube, right? Total watch minutes dropped, right? You have to look at both internal, right? Did we launch something, right? Did some other team launch something that changed, that may have had an impact? Is there a product launch that your team did that may have had an impact? It could be that, okay, there was a India-Pakistan match as it today, and people are watching that and nobody's watching YouTube, right? And or, fewer users, right? Now that could have had an impact, for example, right? So external factors, internal factors, what launched. Then again, we talked about interplay of various metrics, right? So applying those skills to problem solve. And then in case if you have to stabilize, you have to roll back something, to be able to recommend that, right, with data, with justification, right, visually, like in my roles, I've usually spent a lot of time on this, right? So I think this is, I felt like and again, it's more by observation, by learning, by asking questions that that you can build this skill or this practice, this competency, right? So being able to problem solve like a certain metrics movement, and in some cases you may not know, but I think you have to go deeper into it. So having some of those skills I talked about, right, to go deeper into one level of metrics, to understand the interplay of metrics, to understand what is happening outside, look at all those factors to be able to help problem solve why certain things are moving a certain way, and then if you have to do something about it, right, take corrective action. Correct. So I think this is kind of the metrics and data, an important skill in today's world.